Good morning. We're live.
How
Coming
we doing,
at you.
everybody?
Coming at you from the bunker. Got Jason with me.
Hello, everybody.
We're here. The mic is spiking a little bit. We got a new rig.
It's very pretty.
It's very pretty. We got nice new Joe Rogan microphones. I don't know how to use them, and I don't understand the volume mixing yet, so I'm going to have to try to salvage this in post probably, but at least one of the problems that I noticed from our last endeavor was that you have a normal speaking voice, so like a smooth, nice, calming speaking voice, and I go, oh yeah, yeah, and scream all the time, and so it'd be like you talking at a normal volume, and then I would come in and be like, dude, you have no way, and scream like a retard.
Toss that around in your head for a second.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's my even.
Yeah, that's great. Let's adjust. I can tell you right now, I'm going to have to go back and edit that first half of that. Now we're way too quiet. We're good. All right, we're going to stick with that. Yeah, okay. Those are good levels. I like those levels. All right. Well, Jason, how was your week?
Very busy.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. But good busy or?
Parts were good, but it's been a bit of a strain.
Yeah.
How was yours?
My week was. What do you want me to do with the discard from this? Just wherever. All right.
Did you see this floor looking spick and span?
That's true.
It'll all get swept up eventually. I freely throw my tobacco
Just
remnants
wherever.
everywhere.
It goes where it lands. My week was. I don't know, dude. My week is. It was good. It was good. My week was better than previous weeks, and it was just. I don't know. It was like the quality of my week was like informed by the poor quality of previous weeks. So it was okay. It was what did I do?
Poor rest, or
Yeah, poor rest. It's just I'm having a lot of conflict with my company.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it is what it is.
There was a prayer request about a new job position possibility.
Yeah.
Or is it a new job entirely?
New job, new company.
Oh.
Yeah, I've been looking for a new job for a minute. But this one is at a really good company that is very high integrity, has a really good name in the industry. So, and it's a really good. I would be a great fit for the role. So, there's a high percentage chance that I get it.
They just have to realize it. I was a great fit for a lot of roles I applied for.
Yeah, that's true.
The problem is getting the geniuses who are interviewing you to realize that.
Yeah.
And on their end, I know my father-in-law is a manager, and so for him, it's like the interviewees have to sell themselves in a certain way.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if you're having an off day, it's just really hard sometimes to sell yourself well.
Yeah. Well,
or to know what they want.
It is a sales position.
To know what they want.
Yeah, which is a big part of selling.
Sure.
We can here we go. Dive right into the work hard aspect of it.
Oh my goodness.
One part that I can speak to in selling, the thing. If you're selling anything, the thing you need, there's no like Jason Bourne. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to take somebody who doesn't care about what I'm offering or whatever, and switch them totally into I need to buy something from you right now. Like that doesn't exist, and there's a lot of professional. "Quote unquote" sales training out there that would have you believe that you can, with your tone of voice, totally persuade someone to go from absolutely not going to buy to definitely going to buy something, and
has to be something they actually need for one thing.
Yeah, it has to be.
Or they have to be very gullible.
Yeah, something they actually need. Yeah, I mean that's what it comes down to.
Maybe some personality types could really overcome. I can see some personality types overcoming other personality types just by convincing them they need something they don't.
Yeah. If you can convince somebody that they need something that they don't, then yes.
Right. If you're able to get that hump.
Yeah, that usually
But somebody
is a
who's
derivative
really,
of lying. That's usually just what that comes from.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, which is a nasty form of selling.
Yeah. It's an easy.
That's where you get the
it's
greasy, slick-haired
Yeah.
car salesman.
Mm-hmm.
No, you really do want this Pontiac.
Yeah, this is exactly what you need. I know you said you needed an SUV, but it's a two-door It's fine.
How much more would your wife appreciate this?
Yeah. Think about this. It's
You're right.
The new shiny wax.
Never rust.
In selling, young guys out there, if you're looking to sell stuff, the thing that you need to get good at is asking questions. That's your practical sales tip of the day, is get really, really good at asking questions and understanding what it is your potential client is looking for. That way you can just explain to them properly how what you have is that. Meets their goals, fulfills their dreams, their hopes and dreams, everything that they need. But selling is way more about asking questions than it is about telling people things. Way, way, way more about asking questions. A good salesperson talks very little.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been my impression.
Yeah.
When you tell me sales.
Yeah. A good salesperson does not speak often. Good salesperson listens. That's what good salespeople do.
Do you buy a lot of Scotch and lobster dinners as a salesperson as well?
I'm not at that level.
That's some salespeople.
That is my dad. That's my dad. Yeah, my dad.
Schmoozing?
Yeah, my dad schmoozes a lot. My dad just went to Austin.
That seems like that would be the most fun version of selling.
It's unquestionably the most fun version.
Well, I guess that depends on how awful the people you're selling to are. That could be pretty unpleasant.
I think if you get to my dad's level, where everybody's a CEO of like an international, like multi-billion-dollar company, everybody's pretty chill.
Are they?
Yeah, everybody's pretty cool. Yeah, you get like.
I would have thought they'd have to be very aggressive and possibly obnoxious people. I've never really met a high-powered CEO though, so
yeah, they're usually.
I'm just informed by Hollywood.
Yeah, they're usually very, very chill.
Okay,
that's cool. Very chill.
Would it be fun to schmooze Jeff Bezos?
Yeah, probably. He's probably super cool.
Is there anything that you could do to actually impress him?
Jeff Bezos, be chill.
Yeah?
Yeah, just be normal. Be like this.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how you...
You ever, man? Would you like a Bud Light?
Yeah.
But not Bud Light. Sorry, bad example.
You could. If you offered Jeff Bezos a Bud Light, he'd probably think that was funny. He'd probably be like, I would love a Bud Light.
I'll buy whatever you're selling.
Yeah.
It's not like it'll make a dent on him anyway.
Yeah, dude. If you look at Jeff Bezos and go, hey, bud, you want a bud?
You want a bud?
You want a bud? I got a bud for you.
Got a bud for my buddy, Jeff.
Dude, you hit Jeff
El Jefe want a bud?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude. That would be crazy. He'd be like, dude, who is this maniac?
Nobody talks to me like that.
That would be funny.
I have fantasized sometimes, not fantasized, but it would be funny to keep your cool meeting a celebrity.
Oh, yeah.
To be...
Yeah, to be just like mad chill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember what he said, but Seinfeld was talking about meeting fans and whatnot, and Seinfeld has a reputation for being kind of a grouch.
Yeah.
But he was in an interview, and he was... I think he just was like, yeah, just be normal, I think was kind of the takeaway.
Yeah.
Don't be crazy and weird. He's like, yeah, I'll take a picture. Yeah, I'll sign stuff for you as long as you're not. Don't be obnoxious.
Yeah.
Like, please don't. Yeah, don't try to pull out one of my hairs for a souvenir kind of thing. You know.
That's sick, dude. That's crazy. Yeah. I think being normal is the key. I think being normal is the key to life in general, and like you,
relatable anyway.
Yeah, relatable,
warm and genuine.
Yeah,
warm
People
and genuine. Pick up on disingenuousness very quickly.
Yeah, that's a lot when you're an early guy. When you're a young dude in your like early 20s, learning how to just chill out is such a big. Because I don't know about you. A
lot of pressure.
Yeah, when I was, dude, honestly, this year. But like when I was like 22, 23, like I was so, I was like all ego, dude. I was all image. Like there was I had no idea who I really was. None of my friends knew who I really was. You know what I mean? Like that. And it's all like posturing. It's
trying on different hats.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now that's kind of what that, that hat I wear to church now, that was part of what that was. Like, Can I wear this hat? Can I wear this?
Yeah.
Can I wear this felt old man cowboy hat?
Yeah. I mean, there's like, I think there's sincerity that's cool, that's chill. or like you can be into that. Like you can get a hat and like there's a vulnerability or a sincerity to like being like I want to try this new thing out. I want to be a cigar guy. I want to be a hat guy. Whatever. But like when you're like I don't know 23, there are a lot of 23-year-old dudes who are divorced entirely from their own minds, or at least their own desires, like their real desires.
They're just doing whatever the culture tells them they should be doing.
Oh yeah, the culture tells them they want to be doing, or what they think is like cool, or not even necessarily cool, but just like
Desirable.
Yeah, desirable or whatever. Like you want to be.
This is what girls want.
Yeah. I mean, that's huge.
It's probably the
That's
99% of reason you do something.
Yeah, this is what a girl's gonna want, not necessarily what I want to do. Like, am I wearing this shirt because I like the shirt?
You want this shiny, waxy new Pontiac.
Right. Yeah. I think it's because the ladies are gonna love it. You know, girls
gonna love this, man.
They love cars. That's what they think about. They think about. I want a guy that drives a cool car. High priority for young women.
Don't they?
I think some of them legitimately do, but I think they're all Asian or white girls that are into.
I think
Asian
it might
guys.
be whoever.
Or Mexican girls.
I wonder if it's just it's a status symbol, right? So all of it, I think it could all be boiled down to whatever the status symbol, whatever they believe is a sign of success and wealth.
Yeah.
If you have that,
Yeah.
then that is an outward sign that you can, even if you're swimming and drowning in debt, to have gotten that thing, that's an outward. Say, hey, look what I can afford. You run with me, you're always going to be driving a nice car, get you nice clothes.
Yeah.
Comfy house.
Live in a nice little apartment.
Supposed to be trading off credit cards all the time.
Yeah.
Constantly running from debtors.
That's so crazy that people live like that, dude. I know somebody who lives like that. I mean, all my friends live like that, I think, actually. I think they all live off credit cards. I don't know how else they live.
I don't know. Going out to eat, it's like we do not go out to eat very much.
Going out to
it's
eat.
Stupid expensive.
Yeah, it's crazy. Going out to eat, going on like 2 trips a year.
Even fast food doesn't even have dollar menus anymore.
Right.
Like I used to be like, okay, I will get 4 $1 items to fill up.
Right.
Because I don't have anything
all
else.
Day.
Yeah. It's like, well, you're lucky to get 1 $4 item that will fill you up.
Yeah. Yeah. Were we talking about McDonald's yesterday? I think you was talking to about that.
I don't remember. What about McDonald's?
We were just talking about McDonald's being mad expensive now. I don't remember if it was you.
Oh, yeah. Well, we were talking about how... Yeah, no, I gave the example of the wow, do you hear McDonald's has a $750 burger?
Yeah.
We were talking about just in 10 years,
inflation.
That will be a good deal.
That'll be a good deal. Yeah, $750 burger, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, dude, there's one thing I wanted to...
Start me out at $1 million an hour. It's not, it's a job, though.
Yeah, it's a job. It's just, it is a job.
Keep me busy anyway, out of trouble.
Yeah.
Hopefully there's room for upward mobility at this company. So.
Yeah.
I'm going to stick it out.
Yeah. Upward mobility. That's crazy. Well, McDonald's they're pouring like $1 billion a year into researching how to fire everyone, like how to get their stores completely automated.
Yeah, well, you can see that they've got those. Already got those. You can order without anybody.
Yeah, from the screen.
It can't be that hard to create a machine that will squirt ketchup on a bun and microwave a patty and slap buns together.
A lot of McDonald's employees already strike me as robots, dude.
Yeah, they're kind of sad.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Zoomers, but most of you seem depressed and kind of angsty to me.
Yeah, I think that might be McDonald's employees. I don't know if that's Zoomers in general.
I just mean that most McDonald's employees are Zoomers.
Yes, I would hope so.
That would be disturbing. And then the general manager is a millennial.
Yeah, their manager's a millennial who's constantly trying to
motivate them,
or
just hire enough of them to stem the flow of quitters.
Yeah, I was going to come. There's a alarming trend of like fast food, like fast casual restaurant managers constantly trying to have interactions with his female employees. Like that's constant.
What do you?
I try to hang out with them. Hiring high school girls and being like, "Yo, do you like drink beer? Like, what do you do for fun?" Like, "Oh, that's crazy." Like,
That's
like
a trend.
Common, yeah. Oh yeah.
You mean like it's in the news kind of thing? I don't.
Or just every like I've known a couple girls just through my wife who were young and worked like at
and their manager
Chick-fil-A or whatever. Yeah, their manager's like always creepy or whatever. It's constant, dude. And like when I was in college and in high school and I was working fast food, there was always some guy, some shift leader or some like regional manager or something coming around like asking a 16-year-old girl what she does for fun.
Mm.
And they'd be like, "Oh, no way, that's like so cool." Wild stuff.
You mean like a customer?
No, like a employee.
Mm.
Being like way too conversational with a high school girl. You know what I mean? Just like wild stuff. Or absolutely wild stuff. The topic that I was thinking about, we touched on last week, and there's a couple things that I wanted to expand on. One of them is that we said this in passing, but it was that circumstances are not going to be the thing that's going to make you happy or
right
otherwise. Like your circumstances are not going to be the thing that's going to bring you peace in life. And while that's definitely true, I did want to introduce a caveat into that, which is that if you're not sleeping, I think that's maybe the only circumstance in your life that can decide whether or not you're experiencing peace.
Right. I mean, there's limits to what we said.
Right.
If you're just miserable or your health is failing because of it.
Maybe, yeah.
So I was a paramedic before, and the only time in my job where I had like a lot of problems was, we had 2 paramedics on an ambulance.
Yeah.
When I started, by the end it was a paramedic and an EMT because of paramedic shortages. Paramedics are more highly trained and capable than EMTs are. They can do a lot more stuff.
Okay.
Just for reference. So you had 2 paramedics, so people who had Associate of Science degrees in paramedicine.
Okay.
EMT is a 6-month class with a certification at the end. So it's... Anyway, so you were working with somebody of an equal status. One of you was the senior, and one of you was the junior. The senior had to be trained an extra month, and they were ultimately responsible for whatever happened on the ambulance. The junior paramedic position was kind of a cake job because you always had somebody watching your butt. So there was obviously you're still you have a lot of responsibility still for somebody's life that you're messing around with. But your senior was always kind of there, and they would take the brunt of the problem. If they didn't stop you from doing something, you had a safety net as a junior paramedic.
Yeah.
As a senior, you didn't so much. You just have to fall back on defending your decision.
Yeah.
You just have to know how to defend the decisions you made.
Yeah.
But I worked with a senior for 2-3 months, maybe 4. It was miserable. I'm sure she was probably bipolar or something because she'd be sweet, one day and then just be off her rocker the next and nitpicky about things. And she would drive the ambulance code 3 with lights and sirens and finish her makeup on the way. or she'd put on some gloves to be able to eat chips and dip because she was hungry and just didn't take care of herself well enough.
That is wild.
And I remember once I don't remember what I was doing, but she got on me for not using both hands or something to drive, whatever it was. And I was just like, what?
Yeah.
You do way worse.
Yeah, you're doing your makeup, dude. That's crazy. Doing your makeup.
You're not even looking at the road.
Yeah. Doing your makeup is crazy.
Yeah, no, my wife can tell you that was a miserable time for me.
Yeah.
And that was what boosted me to finally give me the kick in the butt to go and ask for senior training.
Okay.
which is usually what drove juniors to get their senior.
Intolerable
It's
seniors.
like, oh my goodness, I can't do that again. I've got to go. I've got to promote.
Yeah.
Give me the senior training. I'm ready.
Yeah, please.
I'm ready for the responsibility. That's better than dealing with this psycho senior who's a control freak.
Yeah.
And the seniors, of course, get this slew of juniors who are irresponsible, inexperienced idiots. And they just
Yeah.
Is it any wonder that nobody retires from that job?
That's funny, dude. That's funny. Yes, that is also a really good point of like, yeah, there are limits to it, your circumstances. Sometimes can cause you like.
You don't have to stay there.
Yeah, you don't have to stay there, and if you don't want to be somewhere, if you're at a job and you don't want to be there, and there's people that do want to be there, you should leave because they're going to beat you every time at everything. They're going to get all the pay raises, all the promotions, all the accolades. Like they are going to win, and you're going to lose. So you should for sure leave, but don't just quit. Don't just be like, "Oh, I'm out."
Yeah,
I guess
always
honestly
have a
you could
backup
be.
plan.
You
I
could-
mean,
you
there's
could
maybe
just quit.
circumstances where you should just quit,
Yeah, there's
depending on how badly it is. So
yeah,
these are not ironclad rules.
yeah. That
But
was
a
one
general
of the things.
rule of thumb is do not quit without a backup plan.
Yeah, do not quit without a backup plan. That was the. I had a job when Emily and I first got married, and but just to clear the air here, Jason and I's wives are both named Emily, but they are different people.
Yeah, that's not some sort of weird cult. Word.
Yeah. So I had this job. Man, I had this job. Oh my gosh, I had this job, and the first 6 months I was there, I like for real. Like I had to commute. At first, I had to commute an hour, and then I had to commute 2 hours there and back, so 4 hours total in the car.
Oh my goodness.
And I would drive to work every day, and every day in the car I would cry and pray and beg God, like, dude, what do you want from me? What do you want me to do? I'll do anything. Just please tell me what you want me to do. And I would sit at my desk every day, miserable, calling. I worked for a company that no one cared about, with providing a service that no one wanted. And I called people. I had to make 100 phone calls every single day. And every single day I would talk to 10 different people who didn't care and didn't want to talk to me. And it was miserable, and it sucked, and I did well. And I had a meeting with my boss, who was very cool. He was a very cool guy who helped me out a lot. And I had a meeting with him, and I was like, I want to get a promotion into a closing sales role. I want to, get out of this job and get into something better. And he said, yeah, that sounds awesome, man. You can do it. Another 18 months and you'll be there. 6 months into the job, and it would have been more comfortable if he had hit me than tell me that. Like, it was such a defeating moment. And then I got transferred out of that department into another department. And the department was led by this guy who, I don't know, it looked like maybe he was born with the malformation, but it also kind of looked like it was damaged. So his arm, his left arm, actually I can't remember which arm, was really mangled. And I think he had all 5 of his fingers, but it was dinosaured out, so it was like stuck to his chest, and he could extend it a little bit and use it a little bit, like he could use his mouse with it.
Okay.
But it was really, really like horrifically mangled. Like, it looked bad. Like there was like a skin graft over some of his muscle, and so you could like see the striations of his muscles moving and stuff. It was really bad. And yeah, it really sucks. And I didn't ever care, like I never thought anything about it. Like, I'm sure everybody else was just like had the same thought of like, oh man, that sucks. But he seemed like a cool guy at first, but he cared a lot about his arm, and it really messed with him. And so he was a real bitter person. But he was really intelligent, so he could keep that on lock for a while.
But it ate him up eventually.
Yeah, and he got very upset that I could do my job as quickly and as efficiently as I could do it.
Oh dear.
And that made it. I thought I was miserable before, but that was
Worse.
dude, so much worse. And so I would just, every day I'd pray in the car, Lord, what do you want me to do? Please send me a sign. And then I had the thought a few months ago. I was thinking about that because I'm finding myself obviously not anywhere near as miserable, but still pretty significantly in a state of pretty significant distress with my current job. And I was thinking about that old job that I had, and I realized that I should have just quit. Like I was asking God, like, give me a sign, and He was like, dude, I'm making you so anxious. Just quit. Like, what more sign do you need?
Walk away.
Yeah, just walk away. And so I think there are definitely times where you should have faith that God is going to provide for you and just quit. Now,
but then maybe don't immediately reverse on that. The trick is you might have the faith to quit.
yes.
And then as soon as the pressure's off, you'll be like, oh, no, I did the wrong thing.
Yeah. Don't back down. Yeah, don't back down. Don't try to get your job back or something.
Oh, goodness, no.
Yeah. But that's not to say that you, if whoever of the 40 of you that are hearing this, if you're in a state of distress and you feel like you need to leave your job, please don't just quit. Don't just like pause this and call your boss. Pray about it. Think about it for some time.
Talk to your spouse if you have
Yeah,
one.
talk to your spouse if you have one. You'll always,
Father, mother, whoever you go to for advice.
yeah, you will always be able to find a job easier if you currently have a job.
Yeah, gap in employment's not going to help you.
Yeah, gap in employment's not going to help you, and
They'll ask.
Yeah, the desperation you'll feel when you don't have a job will make you much more willing to accept a position you would not have otherwise accepted. So you may find yourself, it's a higher percentage chance you're going to find yourself in a worse role if you don't have a job. But
And again, there's also positions now. I mean, you can always go to a temp agency. I went to a temp agency for a while, and that provides you with some anyway. And sometimes, even during that temp agency, they approached me and said, hey, we've got a full-time like career opportunity
yeah,
as I think it was a tool sharpener or something.
oh, that's sick.
So like they'll teach you how to like sharpen tools to like I don't know how many millimeters or
Yeah,
tiny fractions of an inch
oh, dude,
precision.
that's wild. Yeah,
And I was like, at the time I was dead set on, I was already pursuing paramedic or EMT,
Yeah.
firefighter and stuff like that. And I was
Yeah.
like, no, I'm going to hold out for that.
yeah,
Even though the full-time work, I was like, oh, that would be really cool
yeah.
in a way. But
Yeah.
the other part was like, I don't want to spend 30 years sharpening tools.
Yes, certainly.
I don't know. Maybe I would have really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But the pitch I was given and what I already had my mindset on. So, I mean, it worked out
Yeah,
the way I did it. But point
Yeah.
is, the career opportunities could come up if you present yourself well in a temp agency, and you'll be exposed to. I did a little bit of demo construction. I answered phones for a day at some random tiny little office with
That's
nobody
cool.
else there. They're just like, you answer the phone, sit here at this desk and take messages. And I think I answered the phone like 3 times during the day.
nice.
Like that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll call you back.
Yeah.
It's like
They couldn't afford an answering
I just
machine?
wrote down. I think I just remembered having a pad of paper and I wrote down what my little voice, my answering response would be when I picked up the phone. Hello, this is such and such company.
Yeah.
This is Jason. How can you?
Yeah.
How can I help you? Can I take a message?
Yeah. I don't know how to work
So you
the
just
phone.
did a random. Yeah, exactly. I know how to pick this up and hang it up.
So they will call you
There's
back.
no one to transfer you to.
Yeah, the problem is that I'm going to have to actually take this piece of paper to someone. I don't know how to work the phone. So they will call you back. I promise.
Yeah, exactly. I promise I'll deliver to them. I can't promise they'll call you back.
Yeah.
They told me they would, though.
Yeah.
But you'll be exposed to different kinds of work.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
then sometimes that will. One guy, I worked for a contractor who just did his own work. Like we put siding on a house one day, so I helped him put siding on, and
Yeah.
he liked me a lot.
Yeah.
And he paid me on the side on top of what the
Oh, nice.
he gave me like a tip basically
Nice.
because he's like, I know that they only pay you like half of what I pay the temp agency because the temp agency was paying me like $10 an hour for this job, and I'm sure the temp agency was also making like $10 an hour off me. So
Yeah.
he was probably paying $20 an hour, but he, of his own volition and kindness, he like appreciated my work ethic or whatever,
Yeah.
and was like, "Here's a little extra," and was like, "Wouldn't mind having you work for me, instead of the." And like, you have to work for a certain amount of time through the temp agency, at least in this circumstance, for them to be able to hire you away from the temp agency. I guess technically
you sign a non-compete? Yeah.
I don't remember exactly, but I remember he couldn't just say like, "Why don't you just come work for me immediately?"
Yeah.
And I worked for him at some point on some other random job. It was maybe separate from the temp agency, and I even sat down and talked. He like did house flipping, or he did house rentals. He would buy a house and fix it up himself because he had the know-how. He did remodels.
Yeah.
And we talked about house investing at some point. So interesting avenue. I called him like even like a year or two after that to like check in with him. And
yeah. Nice. Yeah, that's great.
His name was Tyler, I think.
That's pretty sick. Shout out Tyler. What's up?
Hey, Tyler. Hope you're doing well with your rentals in Oregon.
Yeah.
Probably are.
Yeah, probably doing great. Probably doing great. Yeah. And that's an important point of like I think saying that Gen Zers are a little what would you say, apathetic? I'd say that's fair, and I think they have justified for being that way.
Yeah, with the way the culture's going and instability and everything that they're being dealt.
Yeah.
It's like a little worse than the millennials got dealt.
Yeah, just a smidge worse than millennials got dealt. But I will say that the only way out of that, this is what this show is about, is how to get out of that situation, not to wallow in the sadness.
You can't change the situation entirely.
Yeah, you can't change the situation entirely.
You got to learn how to work with it.
Yeah, suffering is part of the human condition. Obstacles are part of the human condition. Thank Adam for that. People
and none of us would have done any better.
Yeah, none of us would have done any better.
We all would have eaten.
We all would have eaten the apple.
It was just a fruit. They didn't say apple.
That's true. Thanks, Jason.
Just to be really.
I appreciate that. Thanks.
I don't think you do.
I don't.
I just killed his train of thought again.
Yeah, you killed my train of thought, and also
repeatedly.
When I met my wife's best friend, we went to lunch, and there was this harem. Maybe harem's not a good word, but there was a gaggle of very bitchy, busybody, fat girls that my wife was friends with.
Oh, why? Your wife was friends with.
My wife was the tall, hot girl in a group of short, squat, bitter little women that kept her around to bully her.
Oh, to bully her?
Yeah, that's what they did. They kept her around so they could beat on something pretty to feel better about themselves, about how they looked, and they're dopey, doughy, do nothing IT boyfriends. It was a really messed up situation. But that's not true about her best friend. Her best friend is actually really cool. She's a doctor, and she's very in shape and intelligent. I love you, Bridget. Don't hurt me. But she's a prickly person. She's also deaf, so I can actually say whatever I want about her on a podcast because she can't hear it. So,
legally deaf.
Deaf. Yeah, she's deaf. She has cochlear implants, but I don't know how well those. I guess you just Bluetooth connect them to your phone. So I guess she could hear this, but she won't. So it doesn't matter. But anyways, we were at lunch and they were all grilling me, hitting me with these really gay, little feminine questions. And Bridget was chilling. She wasn't being overly
She was
hostile.
in this group.
She was in this group, and she wasn't part of this group actually. She was totally separate from them.
Oh, okay.
But Emily asked her to come to lunch to meet me with this group of girls. And so she had she knew them kind of in passing, and I don't know if she liked them at all either. Honestly, actually, now I'm thinking about it, I have no evidence to support the idea that Bridget liked any of them. But she did. She asked me what my favorite food was, and I said Mexican, and I said I really like queso, and then she goes, "That's not Mexican." And I was like, "You're wildly good at conversation. You're just going to bring the whole thing to a dead stop by being like, that's not Mexican food. I don't even know what to say. Where do we even go? Now it's just uncomfortable."
Well, the word is Spanish anyway.
Yeah, the word is Spanish. Is it Spanish just for cheese? Yeah.
And clearly Mexican Americans make a lot of it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's part of their new
It's
American
It's at least
culture.
Chicano. It's at least Chicano.
What's that?
Chicano is if you are if you're ethnically Mexican but nationally American. So if you're born in the U.S.,
How do you spell
like,
that?
I don't know.
Okay.
Chico.
Chicano. Okay.
Chicano. There's an N in there somewhere. Obviously, I don't know where it is though. Chicano.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, I don't like being corrected. That's the point I'm joking. But
Okay. Not joking. You just said that to make it less uncomfortable for me.
Yeah.
So
what was I saying though?
If Adam hadn't eaten that apple.
If he hadn't eaten the fruit. Oh yeah, the point I was trying to make was that life sucks. At least like 200 years ago, people had to worry about. I mean, the Carnegie, whatever his first name is, I can't remember his name ever, but Carnegie, the Carnegie Hall, one of the richest people ever to have lived. His family is now
Big American name.
Yeah, like his descendants individually are worth more than Elon Musk will ever hope to be worth. Like they're the actual rich
Serious?
people. Yeah, yeah. The real actually
They're
rich
the
people.
Freemason people.
Yeah. Actually, rich people are like they have banks with no names and like you'll never. Yeah, they're like it's obscene. But the original Carnegie, his son got a cut on his hand from getting out of the car, and it got infected, and he died. And the reason I bring that up is because 100 years ago, the suffering and trials that a human faced were not worse than they were today, but they were easily just as bad. And they were just very different. They were much more physical. Yeah, they were very different.
Now it's psychological.
Yeah, now it's psychological.
Spiritual.
But, spiritual. The point I'm trying to make is that, like, you don't have it uniquely bad. It just is.
There were no good old days.
Yeah, there were no good old days. The human experience has always been one of trials and tribulation. So don't
bemoan the fact.
Yeah, don't bemoan the fact.
Things were bad in ancient Rome, too.
Things were bad in ancient Rome. Things were really bad in ancient Rome. And the reason we were saying that is because I was saying Gen Zers are apathetic, justifiably so, but if you can overcome that apathy and stay optimistic, then you will find many more opportunities will be presented to you than would have otherwise existed. Like Jason's story about the reason the sighting guy liked Jason is because Jason has a happy, enthusiastic disposition, and people like people who like stuff and who want to work hard and are enthusiastic about the things that they're doing. And so that guy knew that you knew nothing about sighting, I would imagine.
Yeah. I think it was pretty clear probably from the first 5 minutes. I had to explain what a ruler was and,
right.
whatever he had to do.
Yeah. And that guy didn't care.
This is a ruler.
Yeah, it's a ruler. Yeah.
Use it to measure things.
Yeah.
An inch, yeah. There are blank number of inches in a foot, Jason.
How many inches are in a foot?
Like, okay, I didn't learn
that. How many feet do you think are on this wall? All right, now how many? If you did the math, how much sighting are we going to need? Yeah, and that guy didn't care. He didn't care because Jason is teachable and optimistic.
You need to be teachable.
Yeah.
Which means you need to understand that you don't know a lot of things.
Yeah, and
be okay with learning them.
Yes, and be okay with learning them. Being cynical is the killer of all opportunity. The killer of all opportunity. So if you want to be able to make it in the world, you have to be optimistic and excited and teachable and interested. You cannot be cynical.
Well said.
What have you been thinking about lately? What's been on your mind? Anything in the news that's caught your eye?
I don't know if I've listened to the news since we last talked, really.
That's good. That's really good.
I used to listen to podcasts, but because I don't have a smartphone, I would download the podcasts on a secondhand iPod I got
Yeah.
and listened to them on the way to work. But once we moved out to the property here and we don't have good enough reception, I haven't been able to download any.
So you have
or
no
haven't
idea what's
taken the
going on out there.
time. No, I don't know what's going on in the world right now.
That's good.
Happily in my bubble,
Yeah.
just working hard.
Yeah.
There's a lot of distraction out there.
There's a
You
lot
can
of
burn
truth.
a lot of. You can burn all of your time on the death scroll.
Yes, you could. Yes, you could, and that's a big part of what we're about here is getting people to look at their lives and not look at. I just adjusted the mic. I hope that didn't pick up. It shouldn't have picked up, but I guess we'll see. Yeah, that like
The beautiful thing about podcasts, I love podcasts because you can listen to them on commutes, and I've always had a commute.
Yeah.
And we've always lived. Here's a tip. I guess this might only work out if gas is cheap enough for you to do this, or you get a fuel, an economic enough car. But if you live outside a populated area but work in the populated area, then you make the wages of the populated area, but your rent or mortgage is less.
Yeah.
And if you can offset that with your commute, or like Ethan working from home where he hardly spends any gas money, that's what we've always done. We've never been able to afford living in the town where I work,
Yeah.
and I've never really wanted to live in the town where I work anyway. I'm more of a country-minded person.
More a country boy.
I mean, that's not the way I was raised. I think it's just always drawn me.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
prefer to be out a little bit more distance.
Yeah. For sure.
I like living in a park.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
I liked being in the woods as a kid.
Yeah.
I liked wandering around adventuring.
Yeah. There's
that Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn lifestyle of going around and playing with dirt and rocks and sticks and building things and exploring, hitting trees and bushes with bigger sticks.
Yep. Seeing which stick would break. That's the best part.
You gotta find a stick with some give.
Right.
And not too old, otherwise it will be a little bit rotten.
Yeah. That is a very good. Yeah, you should. I think a lot of that, like suburban areas, I think are kind of based off that idea. Like living in the city you work in is often not affordable, but it is getting. In my looking for a job, I've looked, like I've been like, oh, let's see what's going on in the cities, and there's positions that are like a job below mine, so they're like I would be considered like an associate level job. So the level below mine would be like entry level, and the entry level jobs based in New York, so you have to go into an office in New York City, pay $55,000 a year.
Oh my word!
In New York City,
I don't even want to know what an apartment there rents.
It's got to be more than $55,000 a year. It's crazy. I don't know how you. I don't know if you're a company in New York City. I don't know how you come to the conclusion that offering $55,000 a year for any job is a good idea. You're just not going to fill that position.
Not sustainable.
Yeah.
Or you're going to fill it for a very short period of time for somebody who's desperate.
Right, and they're going to realize, they're desperate and they're trying to get out of the city. They need a couple
And
months to get out of the city.
3 of them living in a studio.
Yeah,
All
that's
making
crazy.
that $55,000 and just barely making rent and food, for goodness sakes. And if you're working so much, you have to eat out all the time. Especially if you're a single and you don't cook for yourself very much.
Right, yeah,
you
can't
should
save money.
learn to cook, please.
No, yeah, dude, please learn to cook. It's not that hard. It's not that hard. Just get an air fryer. Just learn how to make rice, air fry your chicken, you're good to go.
Crock pot.
Yeah, crock pot. Yeah, that's crazy. And that's the
And
working.
buy cuts of meat on sale and in larger amounts.
Yeah,
The
picana.
larger amounts you can get, and the worse the cuts,
Yes.
and figure out how to make them taste good.
Yeah, you can get.
Spices are not terribly expensive.
Picana is a very, very cheap cut of steak that is very high quality. Just a little practical tip for you right there. Picana. Yeah, we're about to have like a real working, like a staffing crisis with, people are not like, I was talking to one of the younger guys, at church, and he's wrapping up his college career and starting to look for real jobs. And he was talking with like real conviction. He was like, "Yeah, I'm not moving. I'm not leaving this town to go to somewhere else for work. Like the work's gonna have to come to me. I'm not going. I'm not leaving." And like I'm the same way. I am technically a Zoomer. I'm on the old end of Gen Z. I'm not like I've had headhunters reach out to me the past like 3 weeks since I turned my LinkedIn to open for work, and like reached out to me with good jobs. I've been like, "You want to interview for this?" And I'm like, "Is it remote?" And they're like, "No." And I'm like, "Then no, I don't." Like that idea of like moving to go find a job, like go get work, is not something that young people are interested in at all. You can go on social media and just like watch TikTok after TikTok after TikTok of like young girls being like, "Yeah, I graduated with a marketing degree and I like went to one of those like adult babysitting jobs where you send emails all day and I didn't really like it and I didn't get paid that much, and like all the older people that were there, like they didn't really seem that happy and none of them could save any money and like nobody was really that well off, but they were all miserable and scared to leave, and so I decided I'm going to quit." And so I quit, and now I'm a waiter in Colorado, and I'm happy. Like, that's going to happen.
Yeah.
People are just going to check out. You can't keep going like this. People are going to just check out. They're not going to.
Then again, I'm going to push back maybe a little bit. Maybe this is not pushing back on what you're saying, but
go for it.
Maybe this will clarify it.
Yeah.
I moved my family halfway across the states because I wasn't happy where I was, which was not exclusively because of work, but it was pushed. My timeline was pushed forward several years because of work.
Yeah.
I guess I quit without a backup plan necessarily. I was like, I will find work there.
Yeah.
I had no job.
Yeah.
And I had family or people would be like, "Oh, are you looking for jobs?" No. No, I'm not.
I love it, dude. I love that.
I can't. I'm not sure if I couldn't or if I just wouldn't. But I was, fortunately, because the market had blown up so much there, we were able to sell and live off of that. I didn't work for 4 or 5 months once I got here.
Yeah.
Deliberately, I didn't look for work.
Yeah.
And then I found it pretty quickly in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Lousy job for a month, so I quit and went to work for Jesse.
Yeah.
For the last year and a half, and that's been good. My point is, though, the American spirit is you do need to go where the work is to some degree. And so that's at conflict within my own worldview is the need to provide and do anything you have to provide for your family.
Yeah.
And if that meant moving, so be it. You have to provide for your family. That comes first. But I think having roots in a place is also something that I think some people move way too easily.
Yes.
So I don't know what the trends are among Zoomers or millennials necessarily. Millennials are getting maybe a little bit more settled now that we're in our 30s. I would hope they are, but I mean the marriage rates and the marriage age keeps getting pushed back, so it's not. It's not.
I work for millennials. All my bosses are millennials.
Are they really?
Yeah, and they are
not stable.
Fried. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there. I guess what I'm saying is the pioneering spirit maybe needs to be brought alive a little. Sometimes you need to, in order to seek greater opportunities, you do need to leave where you are in some circumstances.
Yeah.
So there's no ironclad rules. You have to consider all these things carefully.
Yes.
We considered very carefully which state and even which part of which state we moved to. And maybe it's, people have asked me multiple times, how did you decide on East Texas?
Yeah.
And at first we were just kind of, you're lost. You're like, well, I'm going to move out of the state I'm in, and I have no idea. The whole rest of the states is open. There's 50 of them. How do you even choose which state to start looking in?
Yeah.
Like, what do you, there's a lot of criteria.
Yeah.
So we started off by going, a lot of the reason we're moving out of Oregon is because of all the blue politics.
You're right.
And you can see how that just has destroyed California and is destroying Oregon and Washington and a lot of other blue states. It's not a healthy way to live. Not to say that all red policies are good ones. They're not. But
there certainly seems to be a
trend
of
towards
chaos.
Rampant homelessness, drug use, and apathy among blue state populations.
Yeah, that'll
So
change.
That's what we were.
In 100 years, it'll be reversed. But
Yeah,
yes.
exactly. I mean, it can't go on forever. Eventually, it'll bottom out. Prices will drop into nothing, and hardworking people will repopulate California,
right,
and
in
bring
Detroit,
it back to all
Chicago,
that stuff.
Yeah.
When it's worth nothing, somebody's going to come in, knock down a bunch of buildings that they paid, $100 an acre for, and just go to town, work some, and build some great stuff again.
Yeah.
So it'll work
Texas
out.
will suck. When that happens, Texas will suck. It will be California. It's cool now, but it will cycle through. Like everything cycles. There's balance to everything, and
I hope it has a good long run.
I think right now it's on the up and up. Like we haven't peaked yet, and then when you peak, you'll level out and
there'll be a plateau for a bit.
Yeah, I think it'll be 100 years before.
I hope so. So I hope that my grandkids will still be able to be here.
Yeah,
and it be reasonable.
Yeah, I think if we follow through with the things that we talk about doing, I think that will secure a future for our great grandchildren in this area. Like they'll have enough cushion and resource to sustain them through like some pretty, like all the people that are in California right now that have like that are like smart that haven't moved out there yet are there because the previous generations of their family made enough money that they can insulate themselves from the chaos that exists in their world.
Or they moved up and they have the skills and the jobs and the wages to maintain the lifestyle long enough. And they're paying taxes, but they're hopefully locked into a mortgage, and they're not buying new.
Right.
Not as many people buying new.
Yeah.
Because almost nobody can afford that. I mean, if Elon Musk leaves the state and can't afford it, not that he couldn't afford it, but he doesn't want to. He sees it as a poor future for a while. It's like, well, we'll let that stew for a while. And when the stew burns all the way out of the pot, we'll come clean the pot out and fill it up again.
We will reconquista Malibu. We'll take it back. I think you're 100% right. And I'm glad you brought that up. And this is a big part of the reason why I asked you to do this with me, because of what you just said, like the challenge, the balance, the differing of opinions. So, yes, you are 100% correct. The pioneering spirit of the American citizen, the American soul, ought not be forgotten and ought not be disregarded.
It can't be. Everyone who moved here, remember, all of our ancestors moved here to get away from whatever lousy country or whatever was going on in the country that was bad at the time. Maybe some of those countries have bounced back and are a lot better places to live now than they were when that family originally left.
Right.
Like a previous church we went to was full of Dutch people.
Oh, for real?
Who had left, and one of the elderly ladies was like born, over there in
Holland,
in Netherlands.
Netherlands. Yeah.
Netherlands. Sorry.
Yeah, Holland's
Netherlands. He was born with Peter Pan.
Wow.
The Netherlands. Yes. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they remember their parents coming over here.
That's crazy.
So they have some crazy stories from World War II dealing with.
That's wild.
Yeah, in the Netherlands. So there's people still alive who remember as children.
Yeah.
What their parents went through and got them out of there, and now they're doing well again.
Yeah.
Big dairy farms, like they set up, they saw opportunity, and now their great grandkids or great grandkids are working on those same dairy farms. So I hope that we'll be able to build up stuff here.
Yeah,
and in a few generations, and we'll prepare those future generations, saying, look, you need to know when it's time to leave, and you need to be looking a good bit ahead of that. You need to know where land can be bought for an affordable price.
Yeah.
Somewhere in middle America where the farmland is just languishing because, what do you know, they sucked all the nutrients out of it, growing corn consistently on it, and never putting anything back in the soil except chemical fertilizers. and it's just sitting dead and useless until you go back and put a bunch of cows on it and graze it repeatedly until it builds that topsoil back up over decades.
Yeah.
It'll take a lot of input, but it might be had for really cheap.
Right.
And if you have the resources from a built-up community, like we're hoping to build here, then they'll be able to go out and they'll have the resources to then put in to another community and build a new community out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think all that's is very important, and I think to agree with you and to bring even more balance to what I was saying is you know what a bell curve is. It's statistics. So if you chart if you take a population of people or anything, any kind of distribution of numbers, and then you have like each plot point on the x-axis is a outcome, and each plot point on the y-axis is an outcome, and then you play those out. Every outcome, even though it's a random distribution, they'll distribute so that there's a bell in the line. So like the average will have the most people stacked up on it. Does that make sense?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
I do better with concrete examples, but
yeah, if you have a highway and there's people driving on the highway, the mean number, so that they'll be the slowest anybody's ever driven on the highway, and the fastest anybody's ever driven on the highway, and then right in the middle is the mean number between that.
Right.
Most people will stack up on that number in the middle.
Sure.
And then the fewest people will stack up on the fringes. The fringes. And so it creates this bell-looking thing on a chart.
Gotcha.
The point of that is that you can have...
the x-axis would be miles per hour, and the y-axis would be number of people who drive that
Correct.
miles per hour. Okay,
Correct.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm following.
Cool. You can... on an individual level, outcomes appear random. So if you were to take a particular person driving on that road, one of them, you would not be able to discern a bell curve pattern from that person driving. If you were to do 2 or 3 or 4, you can kind of start to see something. But if you were to break that down into individuals, the point that I'm trying to make is that you can observe individuals and they can operate in a way that appears completely divorced from the overall pattern, from the general pattern. But when you extrapolate that out,
you're talking about the fringe people,
just people in general,
people.
everybody in the bell curve.
Okay.
So individual, a good way to visualize it is have you ever seen those? So it's like they'll be in like gas stations or like flea markets or whatever, but they're like, it's like a box and then there's pins in the box, and there's a glass case, and then there's pins in the box, and then at the top there's like a little thing you can open and balls will fall down and they'll hit the pins and stuff.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
I believe so.
Okay.
To what end? Is this like getting a gumball out of a machine, but in a
fun
way?
Yeah, getting a gumball out of a machine in a fun way, but
it's like a science museum kind of thing.
Right, a science museum kind of thing. Yeah, and so the balls will all fall down, and if you track each individual ball
moving to the middle,
the middle, right? But if you
few of them will tic tac out to the ends.
Out to the ends.
Yeah.
And then, but if you watch each individual ball, it's moving randomly. You cannot chart each ball. You can't predict it. But it will all distribute out evenly in a pattern. And so the point is that
the averages will stay the same.
Yeah, the averages will stay the same. Percentages will stay the same.
3% will reach the outer edges, and 55% will be dead center, and 45%.
Right. And so the point is that you can't superimpose rules that you can extrapolate out when you're looking at large populations. You can't impose those rules on individuals, because you can't track. A good way to say it is this is something I would say to one of our friends. If you were to take a bet, And the bet was, what's the race of this violent criminal?
Oh no.
Odds are pretty good that you could say a black guy. You probably win that bet by betting it was a black guy.
Probably in Florida.
In Florida, yeah, a black guy in
Florida. If it's going to hit the news.
Yeah.
If it's a weird crime.
Right. Yeah, if it's a weird crime. Yeah, but if you were to take an individual black guy and say, what are the odds that he is a violent criminal? And you bet that he was a violent criminal, the odds are overwhelmingly that you would lose that bet. Does that make sense?
Because the vast majority of black people are not criminals.
Right. The vast majority of black people are not criminals, but the vast majority of violent offenders in this country are black.
Gotcha.
But the reverse is not true. So market forces.
Pivoting to market forces.
Pivoting to
that
economics.
In mind. Yeah. Don't forget that.
Yeah, don't forget
that. Tab that.
Yeah.
All right.
Go
ahead.
Market forces. When you have people doing something, you have like a large number of people doing something like not moving for work. The pioneering spirit ought not be forgotten. But, and on an individual level, you ought to say that to yourself. And you ought to be thinking about that, and you ought to be doing what must be done in order to provide for the people God has assigned to you, especially as a man.
And thinking about your great-grandchildren.
Yeah, and thinking about your great-grandchildren. So you ought to be doing that. But on a broad level, this is a response to something in the market. So people are not leaving probably because they don't have to. They can find work that is as fulfilling, as rewarding as whatever else they would be doing if they moved to New York in Kenosha, Wisconsin, or whatever, being a waiter. Like the opportunity is the same. And so when you look at that on like an individual level,
it's not enough to leverage them to move.
Right, it's not enough to leverage them to
you can't leverage people anymore to move out of state.
Right.
And on the vast majority, the bell curve, the averages.
Yeah, and a big part of that is because the money is so messed up.
No, I'm very much a fringe person.
I would say we're both fringe people. I don't think many people certainly know you're very fringe. You're way more fringe than I am. There are parts of my life. Yeah, there are parts of my life that look like a normal person's life. There is not a single part of your life that looks like a normal person's life. We're in a hole that you dug. A gigantic hole. Yeah, so you're definitely out there. But
I've learned not to share a lot of my life choices with people because it just creates so many questions.
Yeah. That's a good thing to think too. Like you got to know.
Like, well, why did you do this? I'm like, how much time do you have?
Yeah. You got to know.
I don't have enough time to tell you everything.
You got to have.
Let's stick with the weather.
Yeah. Let's just keep it, dude. Listen, you don't want to know.
Yeah.
Yeah. You honestly don't actually.
You
want to
get to lunch.
Yeah. Trust me, dude. You're not autistic enough to care about what I'm about to tell you. Just let it go.
There's a couple people though. Occasionally, people will be incredibly fascinated.
I'm incredibly fascinated.
I don't know if that's sure. I guess most people are fascinated, and some people walk away going,
"Yeah,
okay."
Dude, we had so many.
I wouldn't do that.
Yeah,
okay. Here's a pet peeve of mine: when people say, "I couldn't do that."
Oh, really? You don't like that?
That's something that I wanted to address on this show.
Okay.
It's something I'll probably hammer on. Maybe we already did last week, but
I don't think we did. Hammer it.
Just cast away from your vocabulary and your mindset the fact that you can't do something.
Yeah.
There are people with no arms and legs who are business owners.
Yeah.
And
certainly.
There's like a kid with no legs who ended up playing football, He would like zip in on his legs and on his arms and torso and like sack the quarterback by like hitting him in the knees because nobody would see him coming. They couldn't block him. Yeah. It's like they're I don't know. It's like like I tried to say last week with the whole like me crying over not being able to change a light bulb when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
It's all cumulative.
Yeah.
So don't say you can't do something. Instead, say, I don't know how to do that yet.
Yeah.
But I could learn how to do it.
Yeah.
Even if you're not great at it by the time you're done, you could functionally make it work if you would not give up so easily.
For sure.
That's the point. Don't give up so easily.
Yeah, don't give up so easily.
And so it's frustrating me when people are just like, when I tell them about something I've done, and they treat me like some sort of
freak.
Not in a bad way. They're just like almost in awe.
Oh, yeah.
It's like,
yeah,
no,
I see what you're saying.
Don't be like, I don't think if I'm unusual in any way, well, it's one because God has made me this way. It's not because I'm built myself up. That's anti-American, I guess. I didn't make myself this way.
Sure.
God made me this way.
Right.
And so if he made me extra stubborn, maybe that's
yeah.
extra stubborn and not willing to have people tell me that I can't do something is maybe the attribute that has birthed all of this that you see around is my lifestyle that is weird.
Yeah.
Fringe.
Yeah.
If I'm a 1%er, that's why.
Yeah.
Is stubbornness.
Yeah.
Applied sometimes correctly.
Sometimes
correctly enough
correct.
Over time.
51% of the time it's been applied correctly.
Exactly. Enough to tip the scales to a positive outcome, I hope.
Yeah. We don't know yet.
We don't know
yet.
We don't know yet.
Yeah.
The book hasn't been fully written.
Yeah.
The final chapter's still coming.
Yeah, and that's really that's something I've struggled with a lot. I know I've said to you, I couldn't do that.
Yeah, with the fencing.
The fencing?
Because you said you wanted to fence your property.
Oh,
you
yeah.
Pay somebody to do it. You're like, I can't do that.
I can't do that. Yeah. I think the correct thing to say...
My response is like, shut up.
Yeah, I think
you might not want to or decide it's not worth it.
The correct thing to say was that I would not want to put the energy into getting that done. Yeah. That's the correct thing to say. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
And there's things I don't like. I paid for a window to be put into our house recently.
Yeah.
It's like I could have spent an exorbitant amount of time figuring out how to replace that window.
Yeah.
And make it look okay.
Yeah.
Passable anyway. At least seal it so the weather doesn't get in.
Yeah.
But instead I paid an exorbitant amount to have it done for me because I wanted to focus my time elsewhere. Because you can't. One thing you cannot do is everything.
Yeah, is be everywhere. Yeah.
You do have to selectively say no to some things.
Yeah. Yes, you do. Yeah. This is a big one that I learned recently. Is for a long time I just tried to do what my parents, specifically my dad, told me I should do, because I didn't. For one, I didn't know what else to do, and I would get, it was just fear. I didn't know if I didn't do this, am I going to die or whatever. But very recently, I realized that I have to have the confidence to realize I'm not my dad, and he and I are going to have very different lives and very different paths, and so I have to do what I know I need to do in order to provide for my family and make sure I'm working in a sustainable way so that I don't have to.
You've got half his genetics.
Yeah, I got half his genetics and I got half my mom's, and so I'm a different person from both of them, and so my path isn't going to be the same. The point that I'm trying to make is that, like you do, you have to have and it's very difficult to have this as a young man, but you do have to have the confidence to know that other people around you are wrong. And that's extremely difficult, at least for a guy like me. I do not doubt at all that there are guys who suffer in the opposite direction.
I might be more on that.
Yeah, if that's you, be honest with yourself and don't listen to me. Listen maybe to some other advice Jason would give you. But if you are like me, then the thing you need to hear is that you have to have the confidence to do things that other people may find ridiculous, may think are stupid, may do you have to have a level of self-assuredness to take action. You can't, because I wasted.
You got to go against the flow sometimes.
Yeah, you got to go against the flow. I dropped out of high school, and then I tested into a community college. And so I started college when I was 17. And from 17 to 23, I tried to go to college and failed. And I wasted 5 years of really what could have been very productive time. And I wasted almost $40,000 of my parents' money doing something I had no business doing because I was scared to tell myself that this was a bad idea and I needed to go do something else.
I mean, isn't that the cutting your teeth that all of us have to do?
To a certain extent, yes. Yeah, to a certain extent,
because
yes.
you do depend on. Don't discount what your parents say because they do have. Very soon, Ethan's going to have a kid that he'll want to listen to him and his advice.
Right.
And as a parent, well, in listening to your parents, you need to take their whole perspective into account. My parents were very frugal. They didn't have a lot of money when we were growing up. We were we were lower middle class, I guess. Like my parents had to have help from one of their parents to get their first home loan.
Yeah.
But they were homeowners. I think I lived in an apartment maybe from the time I couldn't remember necessarily.
Yeah.
I maybe have a brief memory of being around in the parking lot of an apartment complex.
Yeah.
Nearby where our first house was. But my parents were homeowners from very early. But it was with help. It was with assistance. It wasn't just them. It wasn't my dad being able to afford everything. And they were never, ever, I don't think, from the time they got married, a dual income family.
Yeah.
Like the whole dual income, we can get into the whole thing, the dual income.
Goodness.
What do you call them?
Yeah.
Dual income.
Dinks, dual income, no kids.
No kids.
That's so
If you want
crazy.
zero future, become a dink.
Yeah, dude.
If you want a lot of fun with zero prospects, if you want to die in a nursing home
by yourself,
with maybe with somebody who doesn't speak English holding your hand,
yeah, or punching you.
Yeah, I guess
that happens. Well, you're not on social media, so you don't ever see any of those. They're like people getting arrested for beating old people. And has that ever breached your consciousness?
Maybe it's dark for me to say it's not surprising, given some of those old people.
Yeah.
I was in a lot of nursing homes picking up people, and some of these.
Jason, are you saying these old people deserve it?
Some of them do. Yeah,
I don't doubt it.
For sure.
I don't doubt it.
Because they will just sit on that call button all day. So that those people who are actually punching, I'm not excusing punching. It's like Bill Burr's bit about you should never hit a woman, but don't tell me there's no reason to. It's like there's plenty of reason, but you still shouldn't do it. It's not right.
Yeah.
But don't tell me that guy wasn't just like wandering around happy as all get out, and then like the woman was doing her own thing and minding her own business, and he just comes up and decks her for no reason.
Yeah.
It's like she was mouthing off a lot
Yeah.
and making him feel like a pile of dirt before he lost his cool.
Yeah, she talked her way into that one. Yeah.
So like these these are dinks.
These are dinks.
These are dinks.
These are dinks getting beat on.
Or people who were bad to their kids and their kids aren't around.
Right.
And their kids are like, well, we're not going to... This is a peeve I have with American society. Not taking care of your own parents when you're old.
Wild. And
there are circumstances which require such round-the-clock care to where it would be very difficult. This problem was a very long time in the making.
Yeah.
Of people being so busy with work and their own families and not, as a culture, taking care of their elderly, so that it is then completely foreign to anybody with elderly parents right now.
Right.
It's completely foreign.
Yeah.
And I should say, even if you do take care of your elderly parents when they're old, it is still extremely taxing. My mother, we remodeled, I think I mentioned last time, we remodeled our house when my grandmother started having her health fail, and my mother was her caretaker, and then she died in that house.
Yeah.
Eventually. It's very taxing.
Yeah.
To take care of your own parent when their mind is going and they're in pain or they're just not hungry. There's funny parts. My mother said that near the end, it's like my grandmother's appetite, because of the drugs and stuff she was on, her appetite was next to nothing. She's a little frail woman.
Yeah.
Little thing. But she would eat chocolate still. And so my mom would poke her head into my grandmother's little apartment in the house. I'd be like, "Hey, Mom, you want anything to eat?" And my grandmother would turn to her like with a mouthful of chocolate and be like, "Oh no, I'm not hungry."
I've been eating
but like
chocolate
they very
all
much,
day.
you become a child again.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I have a grandfather. My last grandfather is about to turn 100 in January,
For real.
and he lives in assisted living.
Yeah.
So he lives in he lives in his own apartment.
Yeah.
He uses a walker, but he still gets up and walks around the lake.
Good.
He's still active, and he forgets more things than he used to. He used to have a mind like an iron trap. He would tell you what day, like what time he shipped out for India on the ship. You know,
that's crazy. Yeah.
Tell you the day.
The
like,
position of the sun when he was like,
yeah. Ridiculous things. Remembered everybody's birthday.
Crazy.
You know,
yeah,
it's fading now, but it took 100 years.
100 years, dude. Think about
Like
how
that.
long 100 years is. That's crazy.
Yeah, he remembers seeing his first car, like that kind of thing.
Oh my goodness, that's got to be wild.
Yeah, grew up on a farm in Iowa, I believe. Yeah,
I mean, I guess so many, like in the last 100 years, so many crazy things have been invented and stuff. At a certain point, you're probably just
yep. That's not
indifferent
surprising.
to
Oh,
it.
interesting. That's
Yeah.
cool. I don't care to learn how to use that.
yeah. There's no
I'm
point.
already
Yeah.
pretty much there. Back to the flip phone. I'm like, this is
What do
this
I need
is
this
where
for?
I stop.
Yeah. I stop at clicking buttons.
With these
refuse to touch the
microphones that
screens.
we've got, I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
neat.
nice. Cool. So there's electricity going to these.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you're explaining that whole 48 volt thing, I'm like, okay.
Cool. I won't touch that button.
Don't touch the red button.
Do not touch the red button.
You're not too warm with that heater, are you?
No, I'm actually very comfortable.
Good.
Very comfortable.
I was like, it's a little too cold this morning.
Last
Down in here.
yesterday, I was trying to be, or not yesterday. Last week, I was trying to be tough, be like, no, dude, I'll be fine with my hoodie and my short shorts. And then we were down here, and I was like, wow, I'm a little cold.
Oh, you never admitted it.
I know, I never admitted it. That I held it down. I held it down.
Sign of a man.
Yeah. Sign of a real man. Never admit when you're uncomfortable. Suffer in silence.
That's a very real and practical aspect of manhood, though.
Suffering in silence?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And training your boys. I'm trying to train my little 3-year-old boy.
Yeah. To
I'll
suffer in
comfort
silence.
him. I don't want him to be scarred like Dad never loved me or hugged me.
Right.
Maybe I hug him too much.
I don't think so, dude.
I don't think you can hug your little boys too much.
Yeah, certainly not. I
I
think
think they certainly need to be told, like, you're going to stop crying now.
yeah, part of
I tell them, time to be a man,
yeah, don't be a man.
and you're gonna be a big boy.
Yeah,
You're gonna be a man, and men don't keep crying over little things like
yeah,
this.
yeah. Yesterday,
And he'll
Emily-
go, it's adorable.
He's like, I'm good. I can do it.
Be a tough man like Daddy.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine the purpose that probably like the
In wartime,
well, just in general,
like if
the-
your sergeant is like, oh, they're there.
yeah, right, yeah. If you're 3 and you have your like father loves you and is helping you to like teach you how to deal with your own emotions, and then you have on top of that like, no, I'm going to be tough. I would imagine that the purposefulness, the fulfillment that you get at 3 from being like, no, I'm tough, is probably insane. It's probably very good.
What amazes me is you hear the stories of like Native Americans or other quote unquote primitive cultures,
Savages,
yes,
yeah,
which is a pretty cool word.
it is pretty cool.
I'm not saying that derogatively.
Yeah,
Savage cultures. So hunter-gatherer cultures.
yeah,
And how tough those guys are.
dude.
Like their coming of age. If you've ever read about the coming of age,
Yeah, dude, those are
just unbelievable pain that they would go through to have to become a man
They
in the
would-
culture.
they
Yeah,
had
we're going to put metal hooks into you, and you're going to hang here until you pass out from the pain.
yeah.
And then you'll be a man.
Yeah, and then you'll be a man. Or they had one, there was a Native American tribe, I don't remember who it was, but they had one where you would go from tent to tent, and the elders and the women in the village would just torture you in each tent in a different way. Pluck out your hair, break a finger, bite a finger off, take just a chunk of your skin, and you just did that for like 6 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end of it, if you didn't, whatever, like crazy
if
stuff.
you didn't have the massive self-confidence of being able to take anything after that, I don't know what'll do it to you.
Right. I mean,
just that Spartan training.
Yeah. One of the things
you will withstand any pain without complaining, or you will be cut off from society. We will actually kill you.
Yeah. We will dash your head on a rock. One of the things
we don't want your genetics around here.
That book, King, Warrior, Magician, Lover,
mm-hmm.
that I recommended to the crew, brings that up. Talks about how important it is for the psychological development of a man because we don't have those rituals anymore. You have to go seek them out. You have to find your
join the Marines.
Something. You have to do
I have
something.
a buddy who, childhood friend, still talk to him occasionally. He's a cop now. It's obvious it was always obvious he was going to be a cop.
Yeah.
And he joined the Marines. And then after boot camp, 3 months of just being treated like trash and not getting enough sleep and doing way too much physical exercise to where you lose weight because you're just burning so many calories.
Yeah.
You can't and getting a limited amount of time to eat.
Yeah.
Oh, too bad if you're at the back of the line because it's 15 minutes from when we start, and if you can't scarf down enough food, tough.
Yeah.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
Get back in line, maggot. We're going on a run. If you've ever watched Band of Brothers or read the book,
it's one of my favorite TV shows of all time. Yeah.
It's really good.
It's very good.
And but their training that they went through,
it's
like that's how you make the best paratrooper, the best special forces unit available.
Yeah,
is driving them together through shared adversity and pain and brotherhood.
Yeah, yeah. You don't even necessarily have to. It is probably a good idea to make your thing that you do to yourself as a rite of passage for yourself. It's probably a good idea to make it physical, but if you're like me, you're like a kind of a waspy, like soft, flowery writer, artist type. Probably not a good idea.
You're also like
I'm a dumb jock, but I'm an athlete. I am a fighter, but I'm not the core.
I wouldn't have painted you that way.
Yeah, the core of my being is very flowery.
Okay, if you say so.
My rite of passage was doing stand-up.
Okay.
Because I was so terrified of it. Like, mortified.
Which you only just did recently, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the thing I did to myself that was like the thing, and it was like that. I have since had the thought of, dude, I did stand-up. I can handle this.
So that's what I was going away with, was my friend told me after boot camp, he goes, yeah, it was awful. It's like, this is the hardest thing I ever did in my life.
Yeah.
Up till that point.
Right.
Perhaps he's done.
Something
Once
harder.
you get to being married and everything, you're like, oh, well.
Yeah, that was cakewalk.
That was a cakewalk.
Yeah.
Looking back, I wish I could go to boot camp.
Yeah, I was kind of lit.
But
actually.
it gives you the confidence to say, I got through that.
Right.
I can get through a lot of other things.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
It's confidence building. Do things deliberately that are uncomfortable. Become comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're going to college, I don't actually. You know what? Maybe not. Maybe if you are going to college, look into this, because I think hazing is like completely dead. I think Greek life in general is completely dead, but because it was almost dead when I was there, it was dying. But join a fraternity. That's a really good one. Being a pledge for a semester is a really, really good one. That is obviously not as bad as going to boot camp for the Marines. But there is a tremendous amount of physical. They will push you. There's a lot of throwing up, a lot of. I used to make pledges PB&Js, so we would run in the morning, and then I would tell them we have PB&Js at the end of the run, and they get really excited. And PB&Js was big giant cups of Pabst Blue Ribbon and Jack Daniels. And they'd run several miles and then have to chug Pabst Blue Ribbon and Jack Daniels and puke and throw up all over themselves.
Pabst Blue.
Yeah.
And Jack.
Yeah.
And like a nasty American version. It's an American Irish car bomb.
Yeah, it's just the most disgusting thing that I could think of that would also be a PB&J. The often I would say, the the last one doesn't get PB&Js. Everybody else gets to, you get a PB&J if you're not last, whatever. And then we get there and they'd be Pabst Blue Ribbon and Jack Daniels, and the guy that ran last wouldn't have to chug Pabst Blue Ribbon and Jack Daniels. And I'd be like, see, this is like the last of you is still part of you. It's still one of you. It's still like it doesn't. You all have this idea in your heads that you're competing against each other to not be last. In reality, you're all chugging nasty, warm alcohol. You're a brotherhood, whatever, the whole thing. But
wait, the last guy wouldn't get the punishment?
He wouldn't get the punishment, yeah. Because I would say the last guy does not get to have PB&Js when we get back there. And then the last guy amongst them didn't have to do it. And my point was basically like,
did that teach them on the next trial to not try?
Well, you can only do that trick one time.
Okay, so they wouldn't.
They know what PB&Js mean.
Well, sure, but I mean, if you did a different version of it,
yeah, but then you just reverse it.
Okay.
Yeah, so the first
just
one.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like, well, no, I didn't say don't try hard.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. But
enough. It works for the motivation for that one. They do not want to be last.
Right. But you do at the point. The point is at the end of a semester as a pledge, you've been hazed. You've, in many times, undergone some pretty significant, like pretty physically grueling trials, doing wall sits for 3 hours, while like smaller active brothers are like walking across your lap.
Oh my goodness.
And like if you fall down from the wall sits, everyone has to do push-ups or everyone has to eat their own full onion. Something like that. So it's there's a lot of really good stuff that can come out of pledge shit, and getting hazed, like it's really good. But I think that's dead. So I don't know. Just look into it if you can. Ask around.
Or here's a bright idea: start your own.
Start your own.
It's independent from the school. Don't take school funds. Remember, This is important. He who takes the king's coin is the king's man.
Yes.
If you take funding from an organization, you are beholden to their rules.
Yes.
So don't take it unless you're willing to be bossed around with your organization. Because it's not your organization if you don't fund it.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So seek out trials. Seek out rites of passage. How did we get on that? What brought that up? What were we talking about?
Oh, building up immunity to being comfortable with discomfort.
Yes. Yeah.
As a way to build confidence. Because when you're young, you probably don't have much confidence. And if you do, it's a peacock kind of preening, like showing off, but you don't have much behind it.
Yeah.
You go up and kick the peacock, you'll be like, oh.
Yeah, it'll run away. Yeah.
It'll close the tail up and run really fast.
Yeah.
So build your confidence in a real way and not with sports cars you can't afford.
Yeah.
And leather jackets.
Yeah, and dude. One of the things I want to harp on is the gym. So like in the on the internet right now. So I mean, I keep bringing up the internet because I don't know. I guess. In all of this stuff, I feel like
you should, because most of the audience is very addicted to the internet.
Yeah, very addicted to the internet.
So it's very applicable.
Yeah, and rightly so. The internet's extremely useful. I think it's okay
to be. It's a very double-edged sword.
Yeah, it's a very double-edged sword.
As any technology.
Yeah, and if you're going to go to it's a very double-edged sword, like as in any technology, like the double-edged sword.
Books were.
Yes, books still are. Yeah, they very much are double-edged sword.
The Roman Catholic Church didn't want the Bible being printed in the Vulgate, the common language, because they knew that lots of crazy ideas and cults would come from that, and they were right to their credit in a lot of ways. That didn't make them right to withhold it from people. Obviously, I believe that being a Protestant.
Yeah.
But now you got guys like us making podcasts, and the Roman Catholic Church probably didn't want that.
Yeah, they probably didn't want two retards rambling schizophrenically in the microphones. Yeah. Shoot, what was I going to say? That's not good.
Talking about the internet.
Oh, yeah. The reason I bring up the internet all the time, or like the reason I like reference Twitter and stuff, is because I feel like, not only if people, obviously internet users are going to be the ones that find this because this is on the internet, but I feel like there's a massive market for like self-help stuff right now, especially for young guys. And I think a lot of that just comes from, absentee fathers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the stuff that you'll find is like almost true. It's almost true. Like a lot of the self-help, especially for young men, a lot of that stuff will be almost true.
There's a nugget.
Yeah, but there'll be something that's off the mark. And it will be so critical that if you do miss this thing, it's going to ruin your life.
It's like being 1 degree off when you're setting off in your voyage across the Atlantic.
Right.
You're not going to hit the...
Right. Yeah, you're not going to hit it. Or like Mormons.
You're going to land up in South America
Right.
versus North America.
Right, exactly. Yeah, like Mormons. Like it seems, or from the outside looking in, to the things Mormons do, it seems pretty productive. They seem very nice. They seem whatever. There are obviously cults that exist within Mormonism that are
way off base.
That are way off
Mormon
base.
Church at large would probably be like, oh.
Yeah, right. But at the end of the day, Mormons are not Christian. Yeah, right. Yeah. Mormons are not Christians. Like Mormons are not. They're not sanctified, and in the economy of the eternal, in God's in the way God views things, that's all that matters, is whether or not you're justified.
If you're not with me, you are against me.
Right, and so you can have all these fantastic
worldly goods
that are amazing, that are amazing by Christian standards, but they're useless, totally bereft of any meaning.
Like providing water for clean drinking water, as an example.
Right.
Good things for mankind, providing for people in a way that will not save their soul.
Yeah.
A lot of charity is like that.
A lot of charity is
90% of it or more.
Yeah. Most charity, at least,
giving $5 to the guy on the street corner.
Useless. I don't remember what I was going to say originally.
Buying food, at least he can't.
Yeah.
He can't sustain a drug.
Yeah, give him try to buy him food and watch him not accept. Yeah, he's not going to accept the food. Yeah, he's not hungry.
Have them come rake leaves in your yard if they say they were. No, I'm good.
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks.
That's not the kind of work I'm talking about.
Yeah, he's not on that street corner because he's hungry. Just be aware of that. He's not holding that sign up because he might be hungry, but that's not why he's holding that sign up.
Yeah, everyone's hungry 3 times a day.
Yeah.
If you don't get him during one of those 3 times,
they're looking for something else.
Yeah, I like there's a homeless guy's sign that I saw recently. He's like grinning and he's like smoking something.
Yeah.
And he's like, why lie? I just want marijuana.
I do. That's respect. There's almost a bit of respectability to that.
Yeah. It almost makes you want to give him $5.
Yeah. Dude, go get you some marijuana. Obviously you need it. You've destroyed your entire life for it. Obviously you need it.
Yeah. Go worship your God of MJ.
Yeah. Did you ever smoke pot before?
I tried briefly 2 times out of big peer pressure. One time I was intoxicated and I didn't feel any difference. The first time I was given like a little dead end of a blunt and it was hand rolled and the paper was so squished together. I don't think I actually got anything out of it.
Yeah.
Because they're like, no, you gotta pressure it just right. Whatever. I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
So I don't think I got any that time, and I had refused multiple times. I was like, no, I don't want to. And they're like, just try.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, fine.
Let's try.
I wish I had, just because it was stupid. I didn't want to. I wasn't interested in it.
Yeah.
And the other time I was intoxicated in Eastern Europe, and they pushed.
Oh, that's wild. What were you doing in Eastern Europe?
After high school, I did not know what I was going to do.
So you said, I'll go to Russia?
They ran a couple of businesses in Eastern Europe. And
nice.
They said, well, why don't you come on over here and get the experience of living in a foreign country for a while. So I went over and lived for 6 months in Eastern Europe.
Nice. How was that?
It was an experience. It blew my life savings there and learned I didn't know how to budget very well.
Yeah.
I'd go and get my money out and exchange it into the currency of the country. And so I'd have like a month's amount of money at once, which is, if you're not used to budgeting, is not a good way to do things.
Yeah, that's like a weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, run short of it.
Yeah.
Ended up having to borrow from my aunt and uncle and pay them back after I got back to the States. That's embarrassing.
That's always so humiliating.
I'm sorry. I'm irresponsible.
Yeah.
They warned me and said, do not get involved with any of the girls here. They might just be looking for a ticket to the States.
And then they're just like, bounce as soon as you get. What country were you in?
Macedonia. It's north of Greece.
Yeah. I was just thinking. I didn't realize Macedonia was still a country.
A lot of people don't.
That's crazy. Macedonia is still a country?
Yes.
That's wild.
I know, the poor Macedonians.
Yeah, that's crazy.
If there's any Macedonians listening to the 40 people here.
Yeah, I was
in Skopje, the capital city.
Nice. I was gonna ask you if Slavs are as retarded as I think they are, but I guess you didn't meet any Slavs.
No.
I've met lots and lots and lots of Europeans. I've never met a Slav, so I just don't know. But they seem retarded, just based off of my exposure to them on the internet. They seem to have had like
from Yugoslavia. Is that?
Yeah, like Russians, Ukrainians,
Oh, okay.
Northeastern Europeans.
Macedonian is a Slavic language.
It is a Slavic language?
Yeah, the one phrase I remember is "Jas zborovam malko makedonski," which means I speak a little Macedonian.
Oh,
Which
okay.
was most of the Macedonian I spoke, which was to tell people to stop talking to me if they, for some reason, mistook the person who was a foot taller and had red hair instead of black. If they mistook, I also wore my cowboy hat there.
Okay.
Just
You're
to stand
trying
out.
to be like, guys, listen, I'm not around,
Hello,
around here.
everybody!
Yeah.
American! Even when I wasn't wearing that, though, they knew, and they knew which country I was from. I remember it was a bar that I frequented called Jethro's,
Yeah.
and named after Jethro Tull, the British
Okay.
band, if you know
Yes.
them.
Yeah.
It's that guy, the lead singer also plays a flute in it.
Oh,
It's a pretty cool-
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Jethro
Yes.
Tull's kind of a cool band. Anyway, the owner just loved Jethro Tull, so he named his little bar Jethro's.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah, like a little one-room tiny place with an outdoor patio.
That is
area.
awesome.
It was fun. They did live music there.
That is
They
awesome.
would play classic rock music. Like, that was what was big there. They would play AC/DC and things like that. Like
Nice.
Rolling Stones. The closing song.
So Slavs are retarded.
Multiple times the closing song was Purple Rain.
Excellent. Slavs are retarded. That is good to know.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah. It was a time.
Good.
Drank too much. I smoked a lot of cigarettes.
Dude.
We went to discotheques, which were like
The
basically
discotheque.
music venues.
Yeah,
It was
oh
a
yeah.
music venue.
Yeah. I'm familiar
Club.
enough with German
Club.
culture.
Yeah,
Yeah. One of my
it was fun. Had a good time.
fraternity brothers is German.
Yeah.
Yeah. He transferred just to go to the school in the U.S. He wanted to see what it was like, and he was like, "Oh, I'm going to go to a frat house." He was mad weird, bro. The Germans are so weird. So weird. What was the... Dude, I feel like we both had like solid points that we were going to make. Now we're talking about Germans. Maybe that's a sign.
Should we talk about the Germans?
No, we're at an hour, 40 minutes.
We're an hour and 40 minutes
Yeah,
in?
we're an hour, 40 minutes in.
Mercy.
Yeah. Well, you want to call it here?
That means we're wrapping up.
That's what I'm saying. If we're just rambling
We
about
forgot
Germans.
what we were talking about.
Yeah, we forgot what we were talking about. Is there anything else? Anything else you can think of? I'm going to think of a million things on the way home.
I referenced being in Eastern Europe for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't remember what story I started with. Oh, you asked me about marijuana.
Oh, yeah. I was asking if you ever smoked pot.
What were you?
Yeah.
Was that going anywhere?
No. Why did I ask you if you'd ever smoked pot? Oh, we were talking about homeless people smoking pot.
About homeless people, and
Yeah.
then I said
We're
one or
backtracking
two
here.
experiences.
What were we talking about homeless people for? Don't give them $5.
It doesn't help.
Doesn't help.
It's too bad this isn't a live show with people like
Who could just shout out? what we were
commenting
talking
like, "This is what you're talking
Yeah.
about." Get
One
back
of
to
the
your
40
point.
guys is yelling at his car.
Finish the point. I
Yeah.
needed to know.
What was it? You were going to say something so important. Yeah. Well, let's see. What is it? What do you think? Let's recap here. What were the important points we hit today? Yes, your circumstances in general will probably not bring you peace, but they can certainly rob you of peace. And if they are, it's okay to change your environment. When you do that, or when you pick a path, have the confidence to do things that maybe other people around you are advising against, but have the humility to realize that they may know what they're talking about. You need to be honest with yourself.
You need to learn which is which.
Right.
To discern good advice. Listen to all of it
Right.
and pick out the parts. This is something I would tell my trainees, because I was a field training officer at the end of for the last few years when I was a paramedic, and telling brand new people, new paramedics and new EMTs, like every paramedic is going to have a different way of doing this.
Yeah.
So I'm telling you this way to do it, but I'm also telling you that you're going to hear from your other field training officers, because the EMTs would have to have like 2 or 3, maybe even 4 different FTOs over their training period, which was helpful and not helpful.
Yeah.
Because then they would have to relearn or redo it, because they would, this goes back to the picky, obnoxious senior tendency of like, this is the way they do it on my ambulance.
Yeah.
And it will not be done another way, and the poor EMT never gets past learning the very basic way to do the most stupid thing. It's like you can't even drive right by the next guy because you're like, you're going too fast. You're going too slow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just nitpick to death over dumb things and expectations of what they... I'm getting off the trail. But the point is, I would tell them you have to listen politely to all the advice.
Yes.
They are your superior.
For a reason.
Do it the way they tell you to.
Yeah.
And then you'll find the way that you actually like to do it and that you find works best.
Right.
And it might be 30% what I'm telling you, 40% what somebody else is telling you, 5% what you tweak your own way.
Yeah.
And, and I would also explain how. Maybe that's important. When people are giving you advice, they say, well, do it this way. Say, okay, that sounds good. Could you explain and ask politely? Don't go, why?
Yeah.
Ask politely, be like, okay, that's really interesting. I just don't understand why. Can you explain how you got to this being the reason that you do this thing?
Yeah, for sure.
What's the reason behind it? What's the background?
Yeah.
What did you do? Like, how many years did you do it the wrong way before you figured out this way of doing it?
Yes.
So I can avoid 5 years of doing
Yes.
it the wrong way.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's critical, because it's even if somebody does give you good advice and you do it, if you're doing it and you don't understand why, that's probably bad.
It's much better to understand the whole machine.
Yes.
Rather than just be a guy who operates the one piece, and when his part breaks, it's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to fix the machine.
Yeah.
That's the problem with me. We should talk about specialization.
Yes.
Hyper specialization of our society.
Right. It's very
rampant
and terrible.
So my boss has this great example of his frustration with specialization. Is that he lives out in the country and he's the very last house that gets phone lines, electricity, or whatever. He's on the dead end road,
Oh boy.
And so something goes wrong at his end, and he calls the company and says, "Hey, my internet's out," and they just have this. The person on the phone obviously doesn't know anything. The dispatcher has no idea.
Right.
So they're like, well, we'll send somebody out to check the connection at your end, or check your modem, basically. Right. And so some guy comes out and checks the modem, goes, well, you're not getting signal to your modem, so it's not the problem with your modem. Yeah. And my boss is like, yeah, I could have told you that. But the person on the phone would only send you out.
Yeah.
And so they're like, okay, well, I don't deal with that. I am only a modem guy, They're like, they check, and so they leave. And then the next day or next week, somebody else comes out and tests the line and goes, well, there's no connection coming down the line from here. And my boss is like, yeah, well, I told originally when I called, I said there was a UPS driver who backed into and tore down a line halfway down the road. So I could have told you that. What you need is a lineman guy who knows how to fix the line to come out.
Yeah.
You drove past it on your way here. That thing laying on the ground, that's the problem.
Are you that guy?
But yeah, are you that guy? Then send him.
Yeah, please.
When's that, next month? Okay, I guess I'm out of internet for another month.
Yeah.
So the fact that nobody knows how to fix the whole machine and everyone is so hyper-specialized. We talked about doctors last time.
Yes.
About how somebody who's
ear, nose, and throat doctor.
Ear, nose, and throat knows those things inside and out.
Yeah.
But you're like, how does the stomach work? And they're like,
I know there's fluid involved.
I know there's fluid. Or some sort of lining.
Yeah. I think there's acid. There's acid, right?
It's acid. It certainly feels like it when I throw up.
Yeah.
It burns for some reason.
It burns my ears, nose, and throat.
I know about the throat because I know that there's something from downstream that's not good for the throat when you bring it goes the wrong direction.
The throat ends and the stomach starts. I go blank. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. Anything downstream from there is not my problem.
Yeah, not my problem. Yeah, certainly.
So you need to have a holistic approach to. It's helpful anyway to have a holistic approach, but it is very difficult in today's society. Like you don't know how to. Whatever we're doing here, you know how to work this equipment. You know how to fix this laptop if it breaks.
No, but my best friend does.
Yeah.
Which
but
is
another. Everything is so complicated.
Right. You can't know.
Technology is so complicated. I think I heard it said once that no single man on earth can make a pencil.
Yes. Right.
Because somebody has to mine the graphite.
Yeah.
Somebody has to get the rubber and process that for the eraser. There's metal and there's wood and there's paint.
Yeah.
All different specializations with lots of characteristics unto themselves.
Right.
So even something as simple as a 2-penny pencil.
Yeah.
It's just astoundingly complicated.
Yeah, it's astoundingly complicated. And I think the balance to the specialization aspect of it, I think we would not feel the negative effects of specialization if we had more community.
Mm-hmm.
If you had,
like, well, yes, I have a computer guy, like you said.
Right.
I got a friend who knows how to fix it.
My best friend is a computer guy. If I ever have computer problems, I just call him and he just tells me how to fix it. I fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and so like if you had community, then specialization is really not that big of a deal. But people are so atomized that specialization is a problem. Because it's really hard.
You don't care about the other parts that touch your specialization.
Right, yeah.
That's the problem with the big corporation that has 1 billion people working for it, and they send out one guy who's like, I don't even know the name of the guy who's going to come out and fix whatever your problem is.
Right.
And all I can do is submit a ticket to somebody else who's not that person.
Right.
And they will then eventually get it around, we hope.
Yeah.
There's so many people in the telephone game.
Yeah.
It's like, good luck getting your problem communicated effectively.
Yeah, it's a really big challenge in the corporate world right now. There's a movement called getting flat. And so it's if you look at an org chart, an organizational chart for a corporate structure, you'll have the CEO at the top, and you'll have his officers, and then you'll have other directors or whatever, and then you'll have managers, and then at some point, eventually, you get to the ground level people who are actually like working, and bureaucracy. Bureaucracy is so effective that people thought more of this could only be good. And so then they just built gigantic bureaucratic structures that are eventually you get to this point where there's entire segments of your company exist only because another segment of your company exists to deal with the paperwork that part of your company generates. And so if you just cut one part out,
cancer. It keeps growing.
Right, just keeps growing forever. Yeah,
the part of the body that produces anything.
Right, exactly. And so they're calling it getting flat because they're flattening.
The brain's like, you know what? We should make the liver into a brain.
Right. Yeah. We can make the liver into a brain. Yeah.
What's all this poison flowing through it?
Yeah.
What do we do?
What do we do with all this?
I don't know, but to process the complaints about the acid levels building up, we should create another brain in the stomach.
Brain. Yeah.
That'll fix the acid problem.
Yeah, so the companies are calling it going flat or getting flat. Get flat, stay flat, whatever. There's all kinds of ways you can say it. But the idea is that you're cutting out tremendous amounts of middle management and you're getting the top of the organizational chart closer to the bottom of it to increase efficiency. And so you're getting the reverse. Like 100 years ago, a way to increase efficiency was to introduce bureaucracy into your corporate structure. It is now out of balance in the other direction. So to increase efficiency, you have to reduce bureaucracy. So
we'll get there eventually.
We will get there eventually. And
for a little bit, and then they'll start pendulum swinging.
Yeah, and then we'll need more bureaucracy to get it all figured out. But Ayn Rand makes a very good point about bureaucracy, which is that it grows. Because bureaucracy can justify itself by creating more bureaucracy to create more paperwork, it will grow in a cancerous fashion, and it will grow such that any given decision amongst any organization becomes so done by it's no longer done by fiat, and it's done by council or done by committee. Committee is what I'm looking for. It's done by committee, such that you cannot hold any one person responsible for the decision. So you can't get anything done. There's no one you can call to be like, hey, listen, I need this to happen. I need you. Will you just agree, put the rubber stamp on there? Let's get it through.
Well,
whatever.
I have to send that up to. Oh, I can't do that.
Right. Well, yeah, I've
Nobody
got
can
6
do
other
anything.
people I've got to consult before we can make any decisions. And so that is my job. That is actually my job, is to go to each individual, they're called stakeholders, each individual stakeholder and go,
Get
okay,
it
what's the
approved.
process here to get this approved? Okay, let's do that. Let's do this and stay on that person, both in my company and
You're
in
just
other
the
companies.
grease.
I'm the grease man. Yeah,
Yeah.
If you're a salesperson, you are in general a grease man. Your job is to find someone who needs what you're selling and then make sure they buy it. That's your job. And so, yeah, bureaucracies they can be good, but right now they are not. They need to be reduced significantly.
Reined in.
A lot. Well, that's good. All right, we're 1 hour and 51 minutes, almost 2 hours, which is a good sign. I think it's a good sign that we're aiming for an hour and then we go for 2. I hope that's a good sign. I hope we're not just like rambling pointlessly and nobody cares.
I don't know how important is it that we keep this to an hour.
I don't think it's important.
Okay.
I want to be respectful of your time as long as you're okay with it going for 2
Okay.
hours. I'm okay with it going for 2.
I didn't realize it was that, so I'm all right.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so we can recap here and then we'll call it. So what did we say? We said circumstances. We already recapped that. Again, everything with balance. If you're going to make some major change in your life in order for you to, I think if you make major changes in your life, I don't think you should aim at happiness, especially as a man. I think you should aim at sustainability. You should aim at, like you said about with your son, teaching your son to be resilient as a man. You don't, as a man, aiming at happiness or whatever is not optimal.
The pursuit of happiness is a
fleeting thing. You should aim at sustainability,
which in turn will give you contentment, which is happiness.
Yeah, which is peace. Which I think most people, they would say they want to be happy, but I think most people what they mean is that they want to experience peace.
Yes, happiness I think maybe gets twisted into pleasure.
Yeah,
fleeting pleasure, which is a negative.
Right. Yeah, you want peace is what you want. I promise you that. And you
Peace
will find
stability.
Yeah, peace. You will find peace and sustainability. So always aim at sustainability. If you have a job where you're like me right now in my career path, God's a big God. He can do whatever he wants, but it seems awfully like I will not be able to sustain this for 10 years. So I got to do something else, which is part of what this is. So if you're looking to make big changes, try to aim at making those changes towards sustainability, not towards happiness. Don't be impulsive. Although many people see someone who is decisive and they think that that's impulsiveness. So be wary of that as well.
Don't you want to think about that some more?
Yeah, I did. I thought about it.
I have been thinking about it for a year.
Yeah, or I thought about it for 6 minutes and came to a conclusion very fast.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's
based on experience and say. Well, the other thing is that sometimes opportunities are gone.
Right. And you have to
you have to be quick.
Yeah.
If we're talking about like investments for one thing,
right.
It's like you might come upon an investment and you have to decide very quickly.
Right.
You know more about this because of your investment with like crypto and things like that.
Yeah,
it's like there's sometimes that you cannot wait too long.
Right.
And hesitate.
Right. If you hesitate, you will lose the opportunity. And your hesitation was not you being diligent; it was you being a coward. So, be wary of that.
There's balance.
There's balance. There's balance. There's balance to everything. If that is one thing you take away from the show, it is that there is balance. Yeah, there would. Me and we were just talking about this. We talked about this before we recorded. Both Jason and I got married a year after we met our wives, and I don't know what happened to you, but for me, there was pushback from some people because they were concerned about how quickly we got married. But I know what I want, and I made that decision, and I have. It is maybe the only thing that has ever been a good decision. My only ever good decision was to marry my wife. Every other decision has been I've failed forwards in life. Everything else has been me.
Maybe it's important. Was this your first relationship?
No.
And it was not my first relationship either.
Yeah.
It was my wife's first relationship.
Okay.
But she was also raised in a different manner.
Yeah.
And was a lot more mature for her age than I was at her age.
Yeah.
So there's we're almost 8 years.
Yeah.
Apart.
Yeah. Yeah, there's nuance. There's nuance to everything.
I guess what I meant is, what I was getting at was, you and I had both been through relationships and discovered things about ourselves and about prospective partners that we knew we didn't want.
Right.
And in boiling that down, you're like, okay, once you find the right person,
Right.
okay, they check all the boxes of what's actually important.
Right.
As opposed to what I thought was important in my first love,
Right.
romance,
Yeah.
caught up in whatever.
Chemicals and hormones.
Yeah.
And other
that's
people.
Not to say that when you're 17 you should be like, I know what I want, because I thought I knew what I wanted.
Right. Yeah. Certainly.
You know what you want. I should say, you always know what you want.
Right.
You don't always know what you need, though.
Yes. And
That's
those things
a
are
big
often not
difference.
aligned.
Very often.
Often not aligned. And so I think a good point to make is that the more experience you have, the more decisive you are allowed to be. And
yes. That 6-minute decision comes from experience.
From 6 years of making mistakes.
Right.
Yeah.
And knowing. So.
But not everyone will see that 6 years. Not everyone will know that
They'll just see your 6-minute decision and
right.
go,
And go, whoa,
buddy,
yeah, what are you doing? Yeah.
That's $1,000 you're about to, invest in. You're like, yeah, but I've seen this pattern play out multiple times, so I know there's good, and I'm not going to starve. The other thing is, like, don't bet the house.
Right.
I don't care how much experience you have. You shouldn't bet your house on that investment. It's still prospective. There's still a chance that pattern won't hold.
You're going to you'll get emotional.
Markets are fickle.
Yeah, you'll get emotional. I'm a cult member when it comes to my belief in Bitcoin's future. But a
cult I'm not a part of.
Yeah, a cult Jason's not a part of, but a cult I am fully in. But I have only as much as I'm willing to lose invested in anything. And my dad is not, but my dad is recklessly.
Know when to walk away from the craps table.
Yeah, know when to walk away. So be decisive. Understand that decisiveness also comes with experience, and that people oftentimes were not there to see you make the mistakes you had to make in order to gain the knowledge you had to be that decisive. So again, you just need to be self-confident. Know what you want in life. Be honest with yourself. Go after those things that you truly want. Do not go after things you think you should want. Unless you're not a believer, then become a believer first before you go after things that you want.
Make sure your heart is in the right place to want the things of God.
Yeah. Otherwise, you will actually literally just want destruction. That's what you want, really, in your heart is chaos.
I'd say you want pleasures. You want comfort.
Yeah, I take a C.S. Lewis kind of stance on it, which is that the natural state of a fallen human is to want the opposite of the things that God wants. And God aims at order, which would mean humans naturally would aim at chaos. And so you will.
Right, I want a life of one-night stands and instability.
Right.
Because wherever my emotions blow at that moment,
right,
wherever my fancy is
where I'm going. Yeah. For sure. Yeah, so there we go. I think that's good. I think that builds well off of our last episode too. Next time I want to talk about gaining skills. We brought that up last week too.
Okay.
And I feel like there's a lot more we could both expand on, because I think we both have some.
Please comment, all 40 of you.
Yes.
We'd love to hear from you guys.
Also, email address. Hyperpremium@protonmail.com. is the email address. Hyperpremium@protonmail.com. I don't know how to spell premium, so
PREMIUM.
Okay, boom. Hyperpremium@protonmail.com. Hyperpremium is the publishing organization that I have that publishes Work Hard.
Oh, cool.
So
I'm learning things.
Yes. I was also considering asking some of our brothers to do some writing for Hyperpremium.
Okay.
I think there's some guys with some some thoughts that are worth writing down. I don't think any of my thoughts are worth writing down. Some of them are worth saying. Not many of them are worth writing down. But I think we have friends who have ideas that are worth writing down. Anyways. I love you. I'm sure Jason does too.
I love you.
Be prayerful. Don't be soft. Don't be gay. Be regular. Be diligent in your life. Love those people that God has assigned you to love. Take care of them. And enjoy your week. We'll see you next time.
Go for prayer, not despair.
Yes. Yes. Bye-bye.